Good afternoon, everyone. I am Derek. Nice to meet you all. I hope you are not very tired after a full day of events. So let me crack on with a bit of background first. Over the past few years, like some of you, I've managed repair workshops in Malaysia and China, specifically in KL and Beijing. And since our digital solution has covered nearly 10,000 dealers and workshops worldwide, I've personally visited hundreds of them across the world and chatted with people on site. So I was invited to share some insights gained through this experience. Anyway, I feel quite excited to be here with so many experts and friends in Kuala Lumpur to explore how innovations in automotive services in the digital age are transforming the customer experience. So, let's dive into some data from a service industry study that highlights why customers often feel frustrated with automotive services. As you can see, the top frustrations are: number one, service time exceeding expectations; number two, pushed additional services; number three, prices higher than estimated, issues with appointments, and unprofessional staff. First, let's talk about service time. Obviously, the problem here isn't really the time itself, but poor time management. The actual service time is usually acceptable, but the waiting time for customers is often unnecessary. Consider this. This is the average job time for the 20 most common service items in workshops. However, occasionally, because of low operational efficiency, the actual waiting time for customers can be twice the job time. And it's the same all over the world. Why should you waste so much time in the workshop? Why not just drop the key and leave with confidence? Although some of you here are running repair shops, let's be honest. Repair shops are not places where people want to spend their time. It's like a hospital. I know some dealers who have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars upgrading their customer waiting rooms, bringing in massage chairs, setting up coffee machines, and building playgrounds for kids. But at the end of the day, the outcome was unfavorable, with low customer retention. My advice to them is to step back and look at what the business is. A repair workshop isn't a theme park, a fancy restaurant, or a nice hotel. It's pretty much like hospital. The key to boost customer satisfaction in the aftermarket industry is by no means by providing additional services, but by reducing the frustration and anxiety that jeopardize the experience. Consider this. The average age of registered drivers in China is between 30 and 33. In Malaysia, it's between 26 and 35. Middle East, it's 30 to 35. US, 40. Europe, somewhere around 45. Japan, it's around 53. The average age of vehicle owners in Southeast Asian countries is relatively young compared to their European and American counterparts. That's why the market here is unique and worth your special attention. Because as our customers get younger, traditional service experiences just don't meet their basic needs anymore. Their expectations for a digital experience are very, very high. For example, they are keen on ordering car delivery services to get their car repaired and maintained, and simply use apps to monitor the whole service progress, which is certainly not the thing for the older generation. But for the younger generation, it has been a trend. Just so you know, one of our dealer customers in China is an Audi dealer, and it has been serving online customers for a long time, since COVID. More than 40% of their cars are brought in by car delivery service. Another top frustration is pushed additional services and the so-called overselling. This frustration basically stems from a lack of transparency. I suppose many of you are familiar with this stuff, right? The paper inspection and quotations. I suppose you are also quite familiar with the displeasure on customers' faces when they see the price without clearly understanding what's wrong with their cars. They often feel bad and sometimes pissed off, right? When vehicle conditions aren't clearly communicated to owners, it often leads to, quote, overselling. You might think you're being completely honest and clear, but to a car owner who knows little about cars, it can seem like you're trying to rip them off. It can seem like you're trying to overcharge them in one way or another. This inherent mistrust is ubiquitous here in Asia. This inherent mistrust is extremely tough to overcome without evidence of a real inspection. You might say you have done the inspection, but if nobody knows, it means nothing. An unbiased explanation of the vehicle inspection and evidence of quality work. I will further explain this. Next, let's take a look at unprofessional staff. When we think of unprofessional staff, the first thing that comes to mind is hiring top talent. But have you ever considered that even if you manage to hire them, the training costs still remain high? Here's a stark fact. The global annual turnover rate for service advisors last year was very high. Can anybody guess the number? Can anybody give me a rough estimate of the turnover rate for service advisors for dealers last year? It's 49%. This data comes from National Automotive Dealers Association, and I personally acknowledge this data as I have done similar survey on dealers. For sales advisors, it's 80%, yes, 80, and for overall dealership staff, it's 46%. This number has risen by 15% over the past 5 years. So, what does this mean? This means that just as you've trained a service advisor well, they're likely already thinking about leaving. This means that just as you've trained a service advisor well, they're likely already being laid off for whatever reasons. This makes it nearly impossible for dealers or workshops to provide consistently standardized and professional service. And the costs just don't stop there. Whether they're technicians or service advisors, wages are growing faster than the GDP growth in most countries. Data from JobStreet highlights this issue in Malaysia. However, since there is plentiful labor power in Malaysia, it's not very noticeable for you. So, to address the frustrations on both the supply and demand sides of automotive services, we have redesigned our operation workflow using a variety of digital technologies. To illustrate, I will break it down into 6 major parts. From vehicle check-in, health check, which is about inspecting problems, quotation, work authorization to customer follow-up. First, when a vehicle checks in, whether it's delivered by car delivery services or brought in by the customer, the service advisor will check in the vehicle simply by snapping a picture of its VIN number or license plate. Then they can read the car information, vehicle condition, work history, and special requests from the customer. A digital service certificate is then generated, and then the customer can see it on their phone. It provides an instant view of the entire service progress. It's pretty much like a broadcast. You can see picture and description of each key step. You can also see the estimated service time and delivery time, which are updated instantly and automatically connected with the technician in the ramp. In this case, the customer doesn't have to stay at the workshop anymore. They can just drop the key and leave the workshop with confidence and go shopping. Whenever they want to know what's going on with their car, they can just open it and see it. Next, the technician can conduct the vehicle inspection to identify problems. During the inspection, technicians will follow a list of checkpoints to identify problems. Also, they can use an AI defect detection algorithm to assist in identifying problems. Let me further explain. We have used machine learning to train this algorithm based on nearly 40 million health check reports and over 100 million pictures taken during the inspections. Simply by taking a picture, the system can automatically identify the problem and fill it in for you. And if there is really a problem, it can generate some description on that problem, as you can see down below. In some cases, the health check results can be more objective and unbiased with this technology. I suppose you have encountered some controversy where service advisor thinks it's bad, while the customer think, well, it's pretty okay and doesn't need to be replaced. And now, the technology is a good help to reduce such kind of controversy. By taking a few pictures following the guidance, a health check report, filled with explanations, descriptions, and service recommendations, will be generated. And then the service advisor can send it to the customer via text messages or email or WhatsApp. It's very convenient. The customer can click a button, AI Explain, on the upper right, and it will provide explanations in easy to understand language. I do want to make it clear, in parenthesis, that the explanation is generated based on the information captured during the inspection, so it's unbiased and objective, as objectivity is the key to win the trust of customer. However, if the customer is on site, the service advisor can showcase the vehicle's condition on a touchscreen. The service advisor will explain every point inspected using videos, descriptions, animations, and vehicle-specific 3D models. It's worth noting that all the content, except the pictures, are generated by the system. This means that the technician just needs to take some pictures, a descriptive report will be completed. This means the service advisor doesn't have to spend a lot of time memorizing all the information. They just need to present it well and offer great hospitality. As a result, training costs are much lower, and reliance on the performance of individual service advisors is largely reduced. Thus, the risk of running the business is largely reduced. After the vehicle condition is communicated well, the service advisor can send the quotation in digital format instead of a paper format to the customer. Then they can clearly see the price, parts used, and labor hour spent, and then authorize the work they want and sign on it directly on their phone. In some countries, they can also pay online, so now everything is pretty clear and traceable. After the work is authorized, technicians at the ramp will be notified with the vehicle information, the previous health check report, and any special requests from the customer. They will then record the key job procedures in the work report, which can also be seen on the phone as well. The last is about customer follow-up, which is also very important. For recommended services that are usually minor and not authorized on site, they will be scheduled for future maintenance. When these maintenance plans are due, both the customer and the service advisor will be notified automatically. The dashboard will display how many maintenance plans are due each month, the estimated revenue each month, and the parts needed each month. This ensures that all sales opportunities are well managed, and service advisors don't have to push too hard in terms of sales. This is the proof of value. For Hyundai, the OEM, customer satisfaction surveyed among over 10,000 customers has increased by 77%. For Great Wall Motor, parts upsells has increased by 27%, while for Seai VW, revenue has increased by 39% in the year 2022. Okay, I was notified of limited time. Anyway, if you want to know more about the use cases and exactly how it works, you are warmly welcome to our exhibition center here in KL. It's called Deutz Auto Service. Also, if you want to reach out personally, just feel free to drop me a message and I will try my best to respond as soon as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening and see you soon.